So what is wrong with the Mike Rinder man? Well, it always comes down to a very, very simple question. Is Mike telling us all he really knows, or is he holding something back? We can accept and assume good faith that he can't bring down all of Scientology that easy. No one is asking for that. However, it just seems that he never says the full truth about anything, and where it's vital and critical, that's very damning. So, here we're going to look at a particular issue. It does touch upon Gerry Armstrong, but it also covers Mike McClaughry and other so called old guard critics who have been much more ferocious critics, yet Rinder can't ever seem to talk about them fairly.
Game began because Hubbard was upset that there were squirrels, people who had taken his materials and were using them and selling them without giving the money to him. Just talking about the formalized use
it's formalized
of that
in the
term.
60s because...
So this is very typical Rinder. He's making it a psychological issue, an emotional issue that Gerry isn't accepting an apology, Mike is not accepting an apology, but Rinder sincerely apologized, and that is the end of it. Now, Alonso's blog has, I think, a different standard than I do. Alonso demands convictions, right? He wants real people in real jails. They better be really high-ranking officials in the Sea Org and Scientology. I'm a little bit more straightforward, though. Namely, could you provide a much fuller, realer history of OSA? And for those who do not know, OSA is basically the CIA of Scientology. So we can accept that Mike might not know many things, but the simple question that Mike proposes, Mike McClaughry, is why are you not naming actual agents? I don't think he's named a single secret OSA agent. He's only talked about people who we already know about. He talks about Miscavige, Tom Cruise. He's never talked about OSA agents hidden away, right? People who are deeply embedded in different organizations, right? Which we can safely assume that Scientology has a lot of spies in different places, but somehow Rinder never ever talks about that. That said, Rinder is well aware of what fair gaming means, and yet he never gets it straight. So here is John and him again redefining what is fair gaming.
I know. And you know, as much as I can, I try to make good. I know Gerry has a real difficult time ever getting over.
So it's very clever, but they're reframing fair gaming as indiscretions, right? Not crimes against humanity, not war crimes, not crimes, not atrocities, indiscretions, indiscretions. So things are just getting relabeled about what Mike did in the past, that he hurt some people emotively. No, he hurt people way more than just emotively, and he knows that, but doesn't seem to care. So he keeps redefining the issue in different terms, and again, it seems that Aaron, Lely, and others are not calling him out. They're just letting it slide. They're saying, well, listen, me and Mike don't get along on everything, but if Mike doesn't want to talk to certain people, that's Mike's human right. He just doesn't want to talk to certain people. And that's the end of it. And it's like, well, it's not whether Mike likes or dislikes a certain person. It's whether, in terms of the organization, is he a really effective fighter?
Your lying is doing well at this point.
Well, I'm well trained at it, John.
And if we look at the evidence very sharply, it just doesn't appear to be so. It just seems like he's a critic who was always fighting with one hand tied behind his back. The question is why? Why is he always not willing to go much further than just name calling? He's willing to call Miscavige a savage, Tom Cruise a bumbling idiot subsidizing really bad stuff. But again, what about other people, other players we don't really focus upon, right? Just victims and or perpetrators. He just doesn't really go into detail. He just stops at a certain point and says, okay, I've done my best. I've done 10 interviews and it's over. And we're just asking a simple question. Is that really all you know? Don't you know much more than that? And again, a lot of people are not satisfied. He's saying all he really knows. And that's going to be always the main problem with Rinder. Did he really tell us everything he really knows about OSA and Scientology as an organization?